Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to their McRae&Co webinar, the biggest shift in 60 years, marketing and selling to today's empowered B2B buyer. My name is Scot McRae, and I'm the Managing Director of McRae&Co. So thank you, firstly, for taking us the time to join us this afternoon. This is our fifth webinar, where we look at the challenges facing today's B2B marketing and sales teams. The on-demand versions for the previous webinars we've run are on the website if you want to go back and have a look at them. What I'm going to go to today is a presentation that's based on the work that we do with the sales and marketing teams that we talk to as they start to tackle the changes in the buyer behaviour. The presentation should last for about 30 minutes, and we'll have time at the end for questions, so please use the control panel at the side to ask any questions, or if you've got any specific questions regarding to your company or a more complex one, then please don't hesitate to drop me in an email. I am going to attempt to take what is quite a complex and challenging issue and break it down and simplify it to help the attendees and the viewers understand it and try and work out what it is that they're going to do next. So, I mean, we've all seen the stats. According to research done by CEB, B2B buyers are now 50% of the way through the buying process before they will engage with a salesperson. The most recent research from both Gartner and Forrester suggests that by 2020, which is only 5-6 years away, that 80% of the B2B buying process will occur without any direct human-to-human interaction. Now, that's got massive consequences if you think about the fact is the majority of companies, B2B companies at the moment, have got large sales teams that are trying to nurture and engage buyers through to a sales ready and decision situation, but buyers aren't going to engage with them, which means that companies are going to have to either reallocate or divest of these large sales teams. So B2B marketing and selling has changed more in the last 5 years than it has probably in the last this decade, and this change and accelerating change is leading to the need for a new model, or certainly a necessary reboot to the kind of B2B marketing and selling model that we've had for quite a long time. Today, 9 out of 10 buyers will conduct the majority of their research before engaging a salesperson. And when buyers are self-educating like this, it means that almost 70% of the decisions are made before the involvement of a salesperson, which means that marketing is now responsible for even 50, probably 60, heading up towards 70% of the sales pipeline. Now, as the buyer's journey has changed and they've gone online and they're self-educating in different places, it means that traditional sales and marketing efforts and practices are in decline. So how is it that companies can adapt, and what are the forward-thinking businesses doing to improve sales productivity and marketing effectiveness? That's what I hope to address today, and what we're going to look at in terms of what's needed for developing a high-performance sales engine and marketing engine. So how do companies adapt to this changing buyer journey? Why marketing-empowered sales is the necessary reboot to the aging model that we're currently using. Why marketeers are now your best salespeople. Marketing automation, why is it so hot, and why is it really sales' secret weapon, and how it works. And what are the essential tools needed for assembling today's high-performance marketing engine, and what the critical steps are for what we would call through the funnel success. Okay, so let's have a look at what's changed. So not that long ago, 5-6 years ago maybe, when if somebody, and let's just take McRae&Co as an example, let's say that somebody came across McRae&Co and heard about McRae&Co probably through traditional marketing efforts, and they sorry, I've got a little bit of a cough, so that's why my voice is a bit croaky. So they became initially aware of McRae&Co and maybe a little bit interested, and so probably the first thing that they would do is they would have a quick look at us, and then they would, if they were interested and it looked as though we had solutions or services that solved the problems that they had, they would make contact with us, okay, and they would make contact and say, hey, I'm interested in what you do, could you send me some information? Now at that point they would go into our CRM system, okay, and they would be allocated to a salesperson, and a salesperson would follow up with them and try to determine their needs, etc., and would would stay in touch with them and try and nurture them through the education and the consideration stages to the decision stage. Okay, and the consequences of that is that you end up with lots of people going into the CRM system who are not ready for a sales conversation, okay? Because at the moment they're just fact finding, they're in the education stage, okay? You fast forward now to where buyers can get everything that they need to find out about companies in order to get themselves ready for a sales conversation, so they can become aware of companies, they can learn about what the proposition is, they can learn about the solutions and the services that are offered, and such that whether they meet and can solve the problems that they have, and they can reference them, reference organizations, they can look at what their credentials, what other companies they've worked with, they can look at what the value proposition is and trying to determine pricing, etc. And they can compare that against the other competing suppliers in the marketplace. So buyers can go through the stages of awareness, education, and consideration without wanting to or needing to talk to a company until they are ready to. Okay, so now we're in a situation where buyers buy, sellers do not sell. And I guess the best way to think about it in our own personal lives is when we're making a significant purchase, such as buying a car. For example, if your family situation changed and let's say you needed a people carrier with kids, etc., you would be aware of all the major suppliers of people carriers, and you could do your research on them, and you might have some very specific requirements around carbon emissions or around fuel performance, and you can research all of those. And you might visit the garage or the garages a couple of times early on at the education process, and you're really just fact finding. You're not interested in talking to a commercial person. You probably prefer to talk to a technical engineer or something like that. And then you'll go away again, and then you'll evaluate maybe the 5-10 different models or suppliers that are available around the world, for example, and you will narrow that long list down into a short list of probably 2 or 3 that are your preferred choices. And you'll also know what price it is that you expect, what their list prices are, and also what price you'd expect to pay. But the point is, when you're ready to have a sales conversation, at the point that you walk back into the garage, you are a negotiating buyer. Okay, you are looking to talk to somebody who knows more than you do, and technically more informed than you do, and can help you make the best decision and also negotiate with you commercially. So if that is the situation that your organizations are facing, where buyers have gone online, then there are significant kind of implications in terms of how to adapt, because number one, marketing is now responsible for not only looking after initial awareness and interest, but it's now responsible for the education and consideration stages of the buying cycle. But more importantly, sales are also dealing with very compressed sales cycles, because the buyers will only talk to them when they're negotiating buyers and they're well informed and often misinformed, and sales are having to try and present a value proposition back to the buyers in what's called compressed sales cycles. So if there's really only 3 things to think about from today's presentation, from today's webinar, is really the questions about, so for your company and in your situation, how much has your buyer's journey changed, and how much has your sales and marketing effort changed to adapt to that, and therefore how much of your sales pipeline is marketing now responsible for? So just a quick look at some of the stats across the B2B industry. So the dramatic shifts in buyer behavior are well documented. B2B buyers today, as I mentioned before, 57% through the buying process before they'll engage with a sales representative. By 2020, Gartner and Forrester estimated that 80% of the buying process will occur without any direct human-to-human interaction. Demand Gen found that today 9 out of 10 buyers will conduct pretty much the majority of their research before they'll engage with a salesperson, and 70% of buying decisions are now complete by the time a prospect is ready to engage with sales. 75% of sales directors are targeting more than 5% sales growth, but 47% have concerns about their ability to achieve it. 34% of B2B marketing leads, or what they call chief marketing officers, are overwhelmed by the pace of change that's been driven by digital innovation. And 58% of companies reported that their lead generation efforts didn't produce enough leads. It takes an average of 19 months to create a new B2B customer and 7 touches to convert a prospect to a customer. 73% of B2B leads are not sales ready when they first approach, and only 25% are legitimate and should advance to sales. Only 27% of marketing generated leads are actually qualified by marketing. It's only 1 in 4. So sales discounts or ignores them, which is not surprising, since 65% of B2B marketeers have not established lead nurturing and 79% have not established lead scoring. But of those, all of those leads that are ignored by sales, 80% are ignored by sales, but 80% will go on to buy something within the next 18 to 24 months. And more than 35% of sales goes to vendor that responds first. So that's a summary of some of the best research findings that that we've come across over the last few years to try and paint put some numbers against some of the things that are happening in the B2B sales and marketing pipeline. So I just want to also clarify as well that about, whether we really want to focus in on top of the funnel or middle of the funnel, okay? Because whether top of the funnel is important or whether middle of the funnel is important really depends on what type of marketplace you're in, okay? And we're really going to focus here on what is the traditional B2B buying cycle, which is multi-touch and multi-step. Now, the key thing, and that's on the right-hand side, the key characteristic that differentiates the B2B sales pipeline is the buyer have to build a business case internally, okay? They have to be able to go to their organization and say, this is our problem, and this is the pain that we have, and this is the solutions that are out there and the solution that we'd like to progress with. And these are the suppliers, this is the range of suppliers that can solve it for us. And our recommendation is to go with this supplier and for these reasons. So in order to build that business case internally, the buyer has to go through these stages of education and then consideration, where they build a long list of potential suppliers and then they take it to a short list which they can present to their organization. So I want to imagine that, let's take an example here of where the marketplace is let's say 1,000, the UK is top 1,000 manufacturing companies as an example, okay? And firstly, organizations will be running their traditional marketing efforts. They'll be running events, they'll be running trade press, they'll be doing some direct marketing, either print or electronic. Part of their website will behave in a traditional marketing point of view, which will be more of a brochure type site. And traditional marketing is all about where the industry is congregating. Let's make sure that we're present. They might have an inbound marketing campaign where they will be running either search engine or some SEO work, some social media, or some content marketing, and the website will be optimized on that point of view. And but the problem that we currently have is that marketing is entirely focused on top of the funnel, on interest and engagement type activity, and sales is focused on the bottom of the funnel, which is all about conversion activity. Okay, but there are a number of stages of awareness, education, and consideration, which is what you call the middle of the funnel, and nobody's really focusing on that, and that is where the money is. Okay, so this is where the big challenge lies. So in terms of what companies are looking to do, what their objectives are, and how do they adapt, so CEOs are looking for profitable growth, they're looking for reliable pipelines, and they're looking for sales and marketing to deliver ROI. Sales teams are looking to deliver the growth plans, and they want predictable pipelines. They're looking to improve sales performance against a backdrop of actually longer and leakier pipelines, and they want high quality lead generation and they as a team want to communicate value and ROI to the buyers, but they're dealing with more compressed sales cycles. The buyers are more informed, the buyers need more information and earlier ROI, and the buyers are less likely to engage early. And marketing teams want to deliver high quality lead generation, and they want to deliver pipeline acceleration programs or campaigns that help accelerate or encourage potential buyers through the pipeline. And marketing also needs to demonstrate effectiveness and ROI. And so we run a simple model, which is what I'll begin to touch on as we go through this. We run a simple model which is complex in all of its areas in order to help companies adapt. So the first thing is to build a high quality database. The second thing is to be able to make sure that you can develop content that engages the buyers and enables them to self-educate through each of the stages. The third thing is to have the ability and the know-how to be able to zero in on prospects that are ready for a sales conversation. And underpinning all of this, you need what's called the marketing intelligence framework or a marketing automation platform in order to enable you to do all of these things. So just to come back to these top 1,000 manufacturing companies and running inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Now, if we don't have a marketing automation platform, if we don't have a platform or the technology in place that enables us to work out at any one time which stage the buyers are at, so we don't have any visibility of the marketing funnel, then essentially we are flying completely blind, and it is what you would call spray and pray, which is what a lot of, or probably the majority of B2B marketeers are currently doing at the moment, which is spray and pray. And it's similar to, you build a high quality wall, you build a big wall, and you try and chuck high quality mud at it, and you're looking to see what sticks. Because if you don't have visibility of which stage the buyers are in the buying cycle, okay, if you can't work out how many are at the awareness stage, how many are at the education stage, and how many are at the consideration stage, then you are essentially flying blind. And so marketing automation, and the term marketing automation is it's a little bit of a misnomer. Because most people think it's just about automating marketing, but actually what it's really about is being able to identify sales-ready prospects. It's really all about, marketing automation is really all about sales and the ability for sales to zero in on prospects that are ready for a sales conversation. So, I mean, CRM is a funny term as well, and if you go back kind of 10 years and you asked everybody what does CRM mean, everybody said, well, I'm not really sure. What's in and what's out. But now if you ask everybody knows what CRM systems do. They know they manage the sales pipeline because that term has become established for that category of software, and that category of software is relatively mature. Marketing automation, or MA, is a very new category of software, so the term, but unfortunately marketing automation is the term that's stuck for that category. But people are still confused about what's in and what's out. But fundamentally, marketing automation gives marketing and salespeople the ability to identify prospects who are ready for a sales conversation on the ability of what they've done with you, or what they've read with you, or what their digital footprint, etc., looks like. And so, one of the CEOs that we work with describes it beautifully, and he will describe it as, if all of your prospects are eggs, how can you identify which ones are about to hatch? Okay, so by an egg that's about to hatch, he means an organization that where the prospect is the decision maker, who has a problem that you can solve, and they have budget and an active project, but most importantly, number 5, and this is the real kicker, that they've educated themselves about your business and your proposition to the extent that they're ready to talk to you. Okay, so we would call that being able to zero in on eggs that are about to hatch, or prospects that are ready for a sales conversation. Now, if you can imagine that if those were the only people that sales talk to, if you could build an infrastructure and the processes and the campaigns in order to identify who those people were every single day, and that they were the only people that sales focused on talking to, then how much more efficient and how much more effective do you think your sales effort would be? And if you had the ability to be able to identify those people in real time using alerts, etc., and triggers, and you could respond quicker than competition, etc., then how much more effective and efficient do you think they would be? And that's really what marketing automation is all about. Okay, and it's really about, so it's not about top of the funnel or middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Marketing automation platforms are also often called lead to revenue management platforms, but we would call this really about, through the funnel marketing, because this is where the money is. Now, of course, marketing automation platforms also automate a lot of the marketing processes. They bring in a lot of the other, little point specific technologies that marketeers would be using. They enable you to do lead nurturing, which I'll talk about in a bit, where you can build campaigns. And I could build a campaign that nurtured prospects in a healthcare industry to teach them about marketing automation, and I could build that campaign that might last 5 or 6 months and had lots of options in terms of how people engaged in it, what other types of content that we shared with them. But if we can build that on a one-to-one basis, we can build it to the tens of thousands if we can automate it, which marketing automation enables you to do. Also, marketing automation enables you to fundamentally to score prospects' behavior on the basis of the activity that they've done, and that is what enables you how to identify them as sales ready prospects. So the key thing is, firstly, is to really kind of make sure that you're clear on what your objectives are, about whether you're top of the funnel in terms of attracting and acquiring prospects, about whether you're through the funnel for nurturing them, or whether you really want to be qualifying them from a sales ready point of view. Okay, now just to summarize in terms of what does the industry say about the people that are getting this right. So digital leaders outperform their peers in every industry sector in terms of growth, profit, and market value. If you combine the sales and marketing processes within a marketing automation solution, it will deliver it's been found to deliver a 417% increase in revenue and a 4-fold increase in qualified leads. Okay, now a lot of the numbers that are surrounding marketing automation seem spectacular, and I think a lot of that, well, there are some very big wins to be had if you get it right, but some of the numbers are so spectacular because often the base is quite unreliable, because if you can't measure this stuff before because you didn't have visibility before, then it's difficult to get an accurate base. Organizations with a fully aligned sales and marketing team will increase annual revenue by 20% versus a 4% annual decline with no alignment. And so this is really talking about when you've got visibility, when you've got the capability to understand the entire funnel end to end and analyze who's at this stage, who's at this stage, who's at this stage, and who's at this stage, then you can begin to align sales and marketing. And that's what drives revenue increase. So companies that automate lead management processes between sales and marketing will increase conversion rates by 50%, because sales teams will follow up on 75% of marketing generated leads and close 10% more. I mean, we came to marketing automation about 6-7 years ago, and we came to marketing automation by trying to solve the challenge of how do we scale marketing effectively and efficiently from a high quality lead generation point of view. How can we develop high quality leads for sales? And prior to that, we were doing for the companies that we worked with, we were doing what all other good B2B marketeers were doing, where we would be building complex newsletters and had lots of great stories in them that took a long time and case studies which took a long time to get signed off and to get published. And we were really looking to try and determine engagement with the newsletters and the content that we'd been sent out. And so we would summarize, okay, here for sales, we'd summarize, okay, so here from the last newsletter that we sent out, or the last thought leadership article, whatever it was here are the 300 people that opened the mailer and clicked more than 3 links. And from a marketing point of view, that was kind of the best that we could do to qualify them as a marketing qualified lead or ready for a sales conversation. I mean, of course, we could have gone and checked whether that company's that company's IP had visited our website address. Of course, we could have gone and checked if they'd opened the newsletter, the previous newsletter, and also visited the website address. All of that very, very manual, and that just doesn't happen because nobody's got the time. So we would send these 300 leads to sales saying, these are the 300 people that we think are ready for a sales conversation, but never, only about 10, 15, maximum 20% of those leads would have been in the consideration stage and ready for a sales conversation. The other 80% were just learning or educating themselves and will not be ready for a sales conversation and will ignore any approach by sales, and calls will get dinged or emails will just get ignored. And so what happens is that sales just concludes that marketing is great at drawing pretty pictures, but it's rubbish at high quality lead generation. So it's trying to solve that problem is what took us to marketing automation. So automated campaigns have 200% higher conversion rates than those without automation. And the top performing companies are 5 times more likely to use marketing automation to drive performance in terms of revenue, lead quality, and cost reduction. So one of the things that having marketing automation platforms in place, and with them the ability to have visibility of the end-to-end pipeline, means that you can start to build predictable pipelines. You can start to build projections for how many people we think will be at the awareness stage, how many people will be at the education stage, how many people will be at the consideration stage, how many MQLs is it that we're projecting to have, how many of those will become SQLs, and all the metrics through the pipeline. So you can begin to build forecasts of what your pipeline is going to look like, and you can track progress against that. So one of the most important things that begins to happen is that there's really nowhere for anyone to hide now. There's nowhere for marketing to hide. There's nowhere for sales to hide, because you've got visibility of everything. The second thing that is really important in terms of adapting to this is if the buyers are going to self-educate, you need to be able to make sure that you have the content available for them to self-educate through the different stages. So you need the content for the education and the discovery phase. You need the content to have the content in front of them on the website and available for them and distributed through through multi-channels, etc., for the education and acknowledgement and consideration stage, and then also for the validation and the decision stage. Now, you need to have the content developed for each of those stages for the buyer to engage with, but also you can tell if you can tell which content buyers are engaging with, and you can track that, then you can also tell which stage they are at in the buying cycle. But if you look at the challenges that marketing people, B2B marketers have from a content point of view, there are massive challenges around content. 36% is around producing enough engaging content, 21% around producing enough content, 20% around the budget to content. So being able to develop the right content for the right stage is very, very important, and it's a big challenge. So we talked a little bit about also the capability to proactively try and encourage buyers to move through the different stages of the buying cycle by using complex and complicated lead nurturing campaigns that are targeted or segmented to those specific buyer types, whether it be specific job titles or specific industry sectors or specific territories, with content that is relevant to them and to the stage that they're at, and behaves dynamically. So, have they opened this? Have they closed that? Have they read this? Send them this, etc., etc. So here's an example of just a simple lead nurturing campaign, for sales directors, which takes them through the 3 stages. And you can see initially here is that if there's a lot of things going on here, but if you build it for one buyer type and one individual, then you can also automate that to the thousands, and you can also segment it into different buyer personas as well. So I thought also it would be interesting to have a look at, there's lots and lots of stuff gets talked about and written about marketing automation at the moment, and I just wanted to share some of the findings from from a software analysis company. I will just, yes, it's from Software Advice, and it's from across 2013, and it's from a survey of 1,000 buyers that were actively thinking and looking at buying marketing automation software. So this first bit of findings is the fact that so what are they currently, what these 1,000 buyers, what are they currently using to manage their marketing activities? So you can see that almost 50% are using CRM to manage marketing. Now, CRM is meant to manage the sales pipeline, and one of the problems that is present is that CRM systems have grown. They've obviously seen, the CRM companies have seen the problems that are in managing the marketing funnel. So they've grown complexity in there to try and manage the marketing funnel, but they're not really fit for purpose for managing the marketing funnel, because they're meant to manage the sales pipeline. So you end up with lots of bloated CRM systems, okay, that are not fit for purpose. And there's only 9% using marketing automation. 7% are using email marketing. I mean, that's just one little point, one specific piece of functionality that a marketing automation platform will deliver. And others are either using manual methods or proprietary software. But you can see that just in the 1,000 people from across last year, a very tiny percentage are using the software that they need to manage the marketing funnel properly. The main reasons for evaluating marketing automation software is about improving lead management, automating processes, and all the other features that it comes with. The most requested features are lead nurturing, reporting analytics around the metrics for the entire pipeline, and lead scoring. And that's all around how can we identify prospects who are ready for a sales conversation, and how can we build nurturing programs in order to proactively try and lead people through the buying cycle. Obviously, high tech is because they're technology companies and they embrace new technology, is one of the sector that's embraced marketing automation first. But you can see consulting, manufacturing, engineering, media, banking, healthcare. There are lots and lots of other sectors that it is relevant for, and in our experience, all B2B sectors that are in multi-touch sales cycles, where the buyer has to educate and build a business case internally, and they're increasingly doing that online and in digital channels. Marketing automation solves that problem and is relevant for that. Also, it's relevant for all sizes of companies. I mean, from kind of 10 employees up. This is not just a big company thing. So just a quick snapshot of what's included in marketing automation functionality. So email marketing, landing pages, campaign management, marketing programs, lead generation, prediction scoring, lead management, integration with the CRM, analytics, social marketing. So the entire sort of tool set that B2B marketeers and sales teams need to manage the marketing funnel is in there. And there's a schematic about kind of what those look like sitting around the pipeline. So the main reasons for implementing, why companies implement marketing automation platforms is to increase revenue, is to increase sales effectiveness, high quality leads, to get visibility into marketing and sales performance, to build more predictable pipelines, to get better alignment between sales and marketing. Because if you have one single, for the first time, if you've got visibility end to end of the marketing funnel and the sales pipeline, so you've got an end to end pipeline which you can get visibility of, then it makes sense to align marketing and sales as much as possible. And in terms of where this is going in the States, they have now what's called a chief revenue officer who manages the whole pipeline, the whole process over. So not a marketing and sales director, chief revenue officer, with people who look after the awareness stage, with people who look after the education stage, with people who look after the consideration stage, and people who look after the decision and the solution stage. So they also implement to get competitive advantage, to increase the quantity of leads, lower marketing costs, to divest of fragmented marketing technologies. Typically, companies will be using 5 or 6 individual little technologies, so you can get rid of all of those and create with one platform. And then to automate nurture marketing. So how do companies adapt in terms of what are the sort of four big areas that they need to look at? So the first thing to think about is people. And so have you got the right expertise in terms of the people to be able to set the right strategies, to make the right decisions, to manage the technologies, and then execute all the actions? In terms of process, given all the change in the roles of sales and marketing, have you developed and implemented the correct integrated processes such that they're scalable to produce the pipeline growth that you need? And then you've got to look at technology. I mean, there are hundreds of technology options out there that sit around this kind of space. So which are the ones to focus on, which are the ones to invest in, and why? And then how do you integrate them? And then data. With all the analytics that are possible, there can be some quite significant quantities of data if you're a big company in big marketplaces. So have you got the right data strategy? Do you have the right infrastructure requirements? So we talked about the different tools that are available. Now this chart is a few years old, and even then you can look at, okay, there are a number of different subsections of technologies that are available to assist in the marketing funnel and the sales pipeline, and there are lots and lots of technology solutions in each of these categories. So there are hundreds of technologies out there. So being able to understand which is the right ones to invest in, and then how to deploy it is a challenge for companies. So also, as buyers, in terms of what we would call go online, which is they engage with companies through multiple channels, and those channels are new ones are popping up all the time. So this is really about just making sure in the long term is to make sure that you are trying to engage with prospects where they are looking to engage on their terms, and in the sense that buyers buy now, sellers don't sell. So you need to have an understanding of the channels that they're looking to educate themselves through and consume content through, and you need to make sure that you're communicating with them when they're there. So that's very much around, make sure that you fish where the fish are swimming. Also, when we talk about integrating marketing and sales, that's challenging. That's a challenging kind of process and to get through, because of there's a lot of, historically there's a lot of kind of there's always been a big gap between sales and marketing in terms of marketing. Sales thinks that marketing is rubbish at lead generation, etc., and marketing thinks that sales doesn't close any of the leads, and so those kind of those barriers are difficult to break down. But when you get into an integrated funnel, you've really got to have alignment between sales and marketing, and that means alignment on terminology. It means alignment on lead qualification, lead disqualification, lead follow-up, and lead handoff. So if you're really going to get the integration between the middle of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel, and sales properly zeroing in on marketing qualified leads who are ready for a sales conversation, and then the feedback loop of those that don't become a sales qualified lead, etc., etc. All of those things need to be talked about, mapped, etc. And so we would encourage use mind maps to get everybody around the table and agree what are the issues, what's the best way to resolve it, and then get a plan and then refine it and improve it. So typically we see that amongst the companies that we work with who successfully integrate the marketing and sales effort, what do they do? So we look to build a single connected funnel with them, and we look to digitally engage across the new buyer's journey in terms of where is the buyer looking for information. We need to understand the buyer preferences for content from their actual behavior, and we go after middle of the funnel. So we would call that through the funnel marketing, because that's where the money is. We need to have very kind of formal agreed processes of the handoff between marketing and sales to make sure that none of these leads, these sales qualified leads, fall between the cracks. Okay, they're all managed properly, and then we manage and measure the pipeline end to end from a sales point of view in terms of metrics. Okay, so we talked also about the need to how do you how do you build a high performance marketing engine? Okay, and what are the things that you should focus on to do that? So they're basically, I think 8 essential parts to a high performance marketing engine. And the first one is it's great content. I mean, it would be great. I mean, it's great if you have well designed marketing programs that are directed, at the right people, and you spend a lot of time building a high quality database and segmenting it properly. And you put together intelligent programs that are designed to encourage people to nurture people through the buying cycle. But if you're fueling that with poor content, then it's going to be subpar, and it's not going to get the results that you want. So companies need to invest in teams that can develop white papers and case studies and videos and blogs and presentations and all the other kind of essential content that buyers need in order to self-educate. You also need to have better visibility. You need to have visibility about what, how's the content performing, how are prospects progressing through the pipeline. Is there an issue about they're not moving from the education stage to the consideration stage? So you can begin to look at, where's there a problem, and then what would the potential solution be, and then put them into practice. You need marketing automation sophistication. The best marketeers use marketing automation platforms to segment and score and nurture prospects, and they ensure that the right messages get to the right people at the right time. And so marketing automation is really about, enabling marketeers to scale kind of targeted and personalized marketing. So this sophistication in terms of managing through the funnel. Okay, website optimization. I mean, everybody will think that means search engine optimization, meaning that if buyers are going to search for you, make sure you're found. But this is much more about making sure that you have the content that's required for the education stage and the consideration stage and the solution stage on your site, and that the site is set up to encourage buyers to go on their own self-education journey through your website and engage with that. Okay, you need a balanced portfolio of programs. So that means that you need programs that are around top of the funnel and around middle of the funnel and around bottom of the funnel. Okay, but you also need integrated programs, and that means these programs should be integrated across multiple channels, okay, whether it be social and email, etc., etc. And in terms of control your own destiny with an inbound SDR team, so an SDR team, that would be what we call sales development reps or inbound sales team. So you need have a team of people that are following up, engaging with marketing qualified leads to qualify them from a sales point of view before they get past the sales. Okay, and then lastly, to define sales alignment. So really sit down face to face with the sales team and get an agreement about what alignment means between sales and marketing, what a marketing qualified lead is, how sales will follow those up, and what metrics will define marketing and sales performance. So I think one of the there's lots of organizations or there's been a lot of stuff written around that marketing automation is difficult, and so people are I think it is difficult. Okay, it solves a big problem, and but because it solves a big problem, that means it's probably going to be challenging to get it right. Okay, and I think it's interesting that in the US, if you take the top quartile performing technology firms, 80% plus of those run marketing automation platforms, but only 25% of them think that they're doing it right. And I think a lot of that's to do with the fact that there's some incredible functionality like dynamic content, etc., in marketing automation platforms, and you just can it makes sense to spend so much time getting the basics right that they never get to really using the sexy functionality, so they don't think that they're doing it right. But I think a lot more of it is around that they don't focus on doing the hard stuff to make marketing automation work, and that the hard stuff is all around adapting processes, the current processes, to the new reality of the way that the buyer is behaving. So the main challenges that we see are really about making sure that you've got the right senior management mindset, that you're really rethinking all the legacy processes and getting rid of the legacy systems. You need high quality data, and that's got to be well integrated between the MA platform and the CRM system. You've got to create enough content. You need to fix any poor marketing processes, and often you've got a lack of skilled marketing staff. You need to make sure that you select the right metrics to measure against the new pipeline, and make sure that you've got the right funding. So, in summary, in terms of how to adapt to the buyer transformation that's underway and whether it's relevant for you. The first thing is, and then how to adapt is, the first thing would be really to decide if it's fundamental, decide if the changes in buyer behavior are applicable to your specific industry sector and your specific company situation. And in terms of how to adapt is, firstly, is to make the steps small and easy and small contained. Okay, make sure you set the right objectives and the right KPIs. Adopt a sort of crawl, walk, run methodology for any of the technology that you put in place with the MA platform or any of the associated ones around that. Make sure you test, measure, refine, improve. Make sure that you map the business processes that are required and appoint a champion to make sure that they're driven through the business. Do the heavy lifting around that business processing and make it zero cost. Don't add more money to any marketing or sales budgets. Make the cost of technology and the cost of the program zero cost. Okay, so that is a quick kind of run through in terms of how we think companies should look at adapting. And so let me just check for let's have a look at some questions. Okay, so one here is so what's the correct balance of investment between inbound and outbound marketing? Okay, so I think that's probably the correct balance between them. I think that's not necessarily the right question to ask, because we would say that inbound marketing can be both really highly effective but also highly inefficient, and it's not scalable. It's really cost effective, inbound leads are, but you've got no control over the quality and the qualification of those leads. And the majority of leads that you'll generate from inbound will not be ready for a sales conversation, and they're likely not even the type of customers that you want to sell to. I mean, if you look at the stats around sort of free trial registrations, typically only between 1% and 5% of sign up for free trial registrations would be called sales qualified leads, and you've got sales teams wasting a ton of time following up on all of the registrations. Purely outbound kind of marketing, it doesn't really scale either, and it's expensive. And because you're trying to engage prospects who aren't ready to buy outbound. So, we would say that you need a balance of inbound and outbound, and traditional, but most importantly through the funnel marketing. If you can go direct, if you can build a high quality database and go direct with engaging content that nurtures the prospects through the stages in the buying cycle, and use an MA platform to do it, then that is often the most cost effective way of getting prospects to MQL and then to SQL. Okay, so the next one is so how would an MA platform integrate with a CRM package such as Microsoft Dynamics? Well, so the MA platforms and the CRM systems is essentially one database, and you can have them continually syncing all the time on the core fields and on custom fields as well. So, but often you need to it makes sense to only sync prospects that are marketing qualified leads over to the CRM system. So there's a number of different ways that you can set up a real-time sync where they're syncing all the time across all fields, or you can set them up such that they just get sync specific triggers. Okay, so I've got a question about what's the best way to identify sales-ready prospects for sales to focus on. So that is, okay, so how do you identify a sales-ready prospect? Or we would call that, alternatively, we call that a marketing qualified lead. So the first thing that you've really got to do is you've got to try and determine what the criteria for a sales ready prospect are, and you can sit with sales and you can work that out. It's like, so what are the characteristics of somebody who's ready for a sales conversation? What have they done? What have they had to have done? So you can identify what those are. And then what you need to be able to do is you need to be able to make sure that you implement those criteria within the marketing automation platform, and then you automate the segmentation of those into specific leads. So we segment prospects that meet certain criteria that we think are marketing qualified leads into two specific groups, and we focus sales on those. So it's quite, to get it right, it's quite sophisticated, but it's definitely doable. Okay, so how do we choose the right, how do we know to choose the right tools for us? This says, yeah, I mean, there's lots out there, and it's challenging to know which is because they're all different. They'll all say that they do similar things, but they're all different when you get down amongst the weeds. So, I mean, obviously, we would say, talk to people who know and you've got experience of them. Get some expert help. Do demos and run trials, and evaluate them against each other. And in terms of it, make sure you have to build the the business case internally for them. Okay, and then so what's the best way to gain the right skills and experience? Okay, I think, well, I mean, certainly the way that we've gained experience is that crawl, walk, run. So make sure that you learn to work out what it is that you need to do in order to be able to crawl really well, and then concentrate and practice on crawling really well, and then walk, and then run, and follow that methodology. So yeah, so a question here is there a conflict here with relationship building with B2B customers and marketing automation, where the relationship is really an arm's length relationship? And that's a good question. And I think it's natural to assume that if you are sort of automating lead nurture programs, that would make sense that is goes against relationship buildings. But actually, if you look at the research that has come out recently, the fact that B2B buyers are much happier with the content that is being that's being shared with them and being sent to them, because it maps against the needs that they have for each of the stages. So what we're trying to do here now is not automate relationship building. It's more about getting the right information to the right person at the right time based on their needs and the stage that they're at in the buying cycle. So that is that's about it. We're coming up to being out of time. So I think that if there's any other specific questions, then obviously don't please don't hesitate to drop me an email or give us a call. We've got another 2 or 3 webinars planned where we look to investigate other issues that are related to the change in B2B buyer behavior. So I hope that you will also be able to drop to share us your time and join us for those. So once again, thank you very much for your time and for sharing with us, and have a great rest of the afternoon.